Welcome to Net Success Tutoring. Today, we are going to listen to a very important topic for UGC Net examination, which is a type of poetic form, the sonnet. So, let's begin with the definition of sonnet. Sonnet is a 14-line poem written in iambic pentameter linked by an intricate rhyme scheme. The name is taken from the Italian sonetto, which means a little sound or song. What is an iambic pentameter? It is a rhythmic pattern which consists of 10 syllables per line with alternating stressed and unstressed syllables. It consists of 5 metrical feet or iambs. The different types of sonnets: Petrarchan sonnet, English sonnet, Miltonic sonnet, Spenserian sonnet, Caudate sonnet, Curtal sonnet, and Word sonnet. What is Petrarchan sonnet? It was invented by Giacomo da Lentini in the 13th century and popularized by Francisco Petrarch. Hence, it is known as Petrarchan or the Italian sonnet. It is named after one of its greatest practitioners, Petrarch, who is also known as the father of the sonnet. Structure of Petrarchan sonnet. It is divided into two stanzas: octave, which is the first 8 lines that has 2 quatrains, followed by the answering sestet, the final 6 lines, which has 2 tercet. The rhyme scheme is ABBA ABBA CDE CDE or CDC CDC. The octave follows a rhyme scheme of ABBA ABBA and the sestet follows one of the two rhyme schemes, which is CDE CDE or CDC CDC. The octave contains a proposition which establishes a problem or a question, and the sestet is concerned with resolving the problem or question. The turn or volta. It occurs between the 8th and 9th lines. This signals a shift in the poem's focus from problem to resolution. Volta turns the sestet into the vehicle for the counter-argument, clarification, or answer the octave demands. The themes of Petrarchan sonnet are love, faith, beauty. Sir Thomas Wyatt introduced the Petrarchan sonnet to England in the 16th century, and he translated Petrarch's sonnets and also wrote his own sonnets. Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey, made some innovation to the Petrarchan sonnets form, introduced new structure and rhyme scheme, and this became the defining characteristics of the English sonnet. The examples of Petrarchan sonnet are Petrarch's O joyous blossoming ever blessed flowers, Sir Thomas Wyatt's Whoso list to hunt, Sir Philip Sidney's Sonnet 31 from Astrophel and Stella, Lady Mary Roth's Sonnet 37 from Pamphylia to Amphilanthus, William Wordsworth, The World is Too Much with Us, John Keats's To Mrs. Reynolds' Cat, Christina Rossetti's In an Artist's Studio, Gerard Manley Hopkins' The Winnower, Claude Mackay's To Winter, Edna St. Vincent Millay's I Being Born a Woman and Distressed. Now, let's have a look into Shakespearean sonnet. This evolved in England during and around the time of the Elizabethan era, and Shakespeare is the most venerated practitioner of this form of sonnet, referred to as the Elizabethan sonnets or English sonnet. This form is divided into 3 quatrains and a couplet, and the rhyme scheme is ABAB, CDCD, EFEF, GG. Written in iambic pentameter and uses the volta or turn in the 12th or 13th line. The themes of this sonnet are passage of time, love, infidelity, jealousy, beauty, and mortality. Examples: Shakespeare wrote 154 Shakespearean sonnets. 126 are dedicated to Mr. W.H. Other 28 sonnets are dedicated to a mysterious dark lady who is the subject of these poems. Sonnet 18, Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Sonnet 1, From fairest creatures we desire increase. Sonnet 15, When I consider everything that grows. These are few examples of sonnets written by Shakespeare. The other few examples of Shakespearean sonnets by Shakespeare are Sonnet 19, Devouring time, blunt though the lines pose. Sonnet 29, When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes. Sonnet 116, Let me not to the marriage of true minds. Shakespearean sonnet by other authors. When I Have Fears by John Keats in 1848, America by Claude McKay, 1921. Now let's have a look into Miltonic sonnets. John Milton's Italian patterned sonnets, wrote sonnet that often expressed interior self-directed concerns. The themes are politics, intellectual pursuits, and spirituality. The same rhyme scheme as the Petrarchan sonnet. So followed the pattern of ABBA, ABBA, CDE, CDE, and he freed the sonnet from its typical style. He took the liberties with the turn, allowing the octave to run into the sestet as needed, did not have a defined separation between octave and the following sestet, thus freeing the sonnet from its typical style. Examples: Sonnet 19. When I consider how my light is spent. On his blindness, John Milton. Methought I saw my late espoused saint by John Milton. Now, what is Spenserian sonnet? It was invented by the 16th century English poet Edmund Spenser. Cribbs its structure from the Shakespearean sonnet, which is three quatrains and a couplet. It is made up of 14 lines written in iambic pentameter, and it employs a series of couplet links between the quatrains. The rhyme scheme of Spenserian sonnet is ABAB, BCBC, CDCD, EE. Gained popularity in Scotland during the 16th and 17th centuries. The Scottish royalty, including King James VI, used the Spenserian sonnet. It became popular in Scotland. Sometimes it is referred to as the Scottish sonnet. Examples are: Edmund Spenser wrote 121 sonnets of rhyme scheme ABAB, BCBC, CDCD, including 87 in his love sequence Amorety. Edmund Spenser's Amorety, Sonnet 75, One day I wrote her name upon the strand. Edmund Spenser's Sonnet 54, Of this world's theatre in which we stand by. King John VI of Scotland, he is the author of 17 Spenserian sonnets. Sonnet 7 in Essays of Apprentice is one among the famous ones. William Fowler, who wrote 130 Spenserian sonnet, the Tarantula of Love, it is a sequence of 71 sonnets. Caudate sonnets. Italian poet Francesco Berni is credited with the invention of this variation. 14-line sonnet is followed by a brief concluding stanza of few lines, known as coda. Latin coda means tail, from which this name is derived, sometimes called as a tailed sonnet. It is rhymed as ABBA, ABBA, CDC, DCD, DEE. Examples: John Milton's On the New Forces of Conscience Under the Long Parliament, Gerard Manley Hopkins' That Nature is a Heraclitean Fire. Curtal Sonnet, invented by Gerard Manley Hopkins, used in three of his poems, a 10.5-line sonnet, three-quarters of the structure of a Petrarchan sonnet shrunk proportionally. Reduced octave to a 6-line stanza and sestet to a 4.5-line stanza. Sonnet of 11 lines rhyming ABC ABC DCB DC or ABC ABC DBC DC, with the last line a tail or half a line. It is also known as a contracted sonnet. Example: Gerard Manley Hopkins' Pied Beauty, Peas and Ash Bows. Word sonnet. This came out of a poetic movement of the late 20th century known as New Formalism. These 14-word poems contains just one word per line. Examples: Seymour Maine's collection of word sonnets entitled Ricochet Word Sonnets, which includes sonnets like La Pierre, Stone, Equinox, La Equino, Ricochet, etc. Sonnet groupings. Sonnets are written as part of larger groups of sonnets. Each poem can stand alone, but the collection of sonnets is meant to be greater than the sum of its part. There are two types of sonnet groupings: cycles and sequences, sonnet crown. Cycles and sequences. A group of sonnets that are united by a single theme. A series of sonnets that work as standalone poems but deal with the same theme or are addressed to the same person. Sonnet cycles usually take unrequited love as a subject or are otherwise addressed to lovers. William Shakespeare wrote a sequence of 154 sonnets. The first English poet to write a sonnet sequence, Anne Locke. First poet to write a long sonnet sequence and to popularize it in Elizabethan England, Sir Philip Sidney. Italian sonnet sequences. Dante Alighieri's La Vita Nuova, with 25 sonnets addressed to Beatrice. Petrarch's Canzoniere, 227 sonnets to Laura and 89 sonnets to Laura in death. English sonnet sequences. Sir Philip Sidney's Astrophil and Stella, 1591. 108 sonnets and 11 songs thought to be addressed to Lady Rich, written between 1580 and 1584. Edmund Spenser's Amority, written in 1594, with 89 sonnets and an epithalamion addressed to his wife Elizabeth. Samuel Daniel's Delia, 1592, with 50 sonnets. Michael Drayton's Idea's Mirror, written in 1594, with 64 sonnets to Phoebe. Later, he reworked it as Idea, published in 1619 with 73 sonnets. Fulk Gribel's Silica, published in 1633 with 109 sonnets. Lady Mary Rhodes' Pamphylia to Amphilanthus, published in 1621 with 83 sonnets. Anne Locke's Meditation of a Penitent Sinner in 1560 with 26 sonnets. Sonnet crowns. A crown of sonnets or sonnet corona, a sequence of sonnets usually addressed to one person or concerned with a single theme. A sequence of sonnets where the first line of each sonnet is carried over from the last line of the previous sonnet. First line of first sonnet is repeated as the last line of final sonnet. Heroic crown. This is a specific kind of crown that follows the same rules as a typical crown of sonnets. Comprises of 15 sonnets. The 15th sonnet is called as the master sonnet. Final sonnet is composed of all the first lines of all the preceding sonnets in sequence, and this is known to be invented by the Siena Academy. First full crown of sonnets in English is Lady Mary Rhodes, a crown of sonnets dedicated to love. John Donne's sequence entitled Corona is also a heroic crown, but not a full heroic crown since it has only 7 sonnets. Marilyn Nelson's book, A Wreath for Emmett Till. In the title, a collaborative crown of poems by Judith Barrington, Annie Finch, Julie Kane, Julia Lizzle, D.R.C. Randall, Catherine Warnes, and Leslie Wheeler. So that's it. This is all about today's session, which was on the type of poetic forms, that is sonnet. We had a detailed discussion. If you have any queries or doubts, please reach us at netsuccesstutoring@gmail.com.